We're recording. Okay. Hi, I'm Dylan.
Naomi.
Kyra. And Sue.
All right, so this is our second critical discourse.
Yes.
You want to start us off, Naomi?
So, we have decided to talk about Foucault. Namely because I was really sad that we didn't get to talk about Foucault in class.
It's an interesting article.
I just thought it was... I mean, a lot of what he said about madness and how it became socialized and then turned into something absolutely negative, but at the same time was also trying to be used as a cheap labor force. I feel that's still true today. I mean, look at the people that we regularly institutionalize or say have addiction problems or have mental health problems. They're the disenfranchised, the marginalized in society. I mean, especially if you look at the U.S. prison system, for example, they have the highest rates of, and this is completely unquoted, but I did a lot of reading before that, don't remember any of the numbers, but they have really high rates of addiction, mental illness, but they make their prisoners work in a bunch of different areas, and they basically pay them as slave labor. And there are so many people who are disenfranchised, and especially people who belong to minority groups, and it's just, prisons are a terrible idea. And I feel like now that those madhouses have become our modern-day prison system in North America.
I also thought it was interesting, too, when they talked in the history about how they would kind of shun the people who were unemployed or homeless. Like, they'd make them leave the city. And it just kind of reminded me of what is happening today, because I know they ended up getting, like, you know, the homeless today end up getting shifted from different parts of the city all the time because we don't want them downtown, and our buildings are designed so they can't find shelter. And, you know, on our bus things, you put up the poles so they can't lie down, and all these different strategies that the city uses to make it not appealing to the people who live on the street.
Well, it's like
so we still do.
It's like Reverend Al was talking about today, right? About the whole, all the churches have no trespassing, and one of them has barbed wire, and
yeah, so we're still kind of doing the same things. Like,
yeah.
we're like, oh, we don't think that way today about, you know, and it talked about how it was almost like a moral thing, that if you weren't working, it was immoral. Yeah. And, you know, we think, oh, we're not like that today, but we still try and move them all the time. We're moving them to different parts of the city all the time. And
well, the interesting thing I caught on was, you know, they said during the Renaissance, if you're mad, you have mental illness, it's fine, you still have a voice, it's not good or bad. But during the age of age of the reason, so that's the time when it happens. So they think if you have mental illness and if you're poor, if you are unemployed, not able to work, and that all kind of get grouped all together. You're poor and you are mad. It's the same thing now.
Yeah.
So during that
time. A single label.
Exactly. Just all throw them together. So I think nowadays when we see homeless people on the street, we kind, I don't know, I won't say we, people see them as a little bit mad because they do have mental illness and they have addictions. And I think that kind of perception or bias is from the 17th century. So from the age of reason, when they started want to have the society, orderly, organized, and then they threw all the poor people together. They think if you are not able to work, you are mad. So I think the perceptions is not we're born with, because it's from long time ago, like very subtle, kind of influence us to think that way. We don't born to think that way, but we were educated in this kind of system, and this whole system is like this, so we influenced by it so subtly. We can't even point finger at anyone and say, oh, you did this to me, and you did that to me. But because it's so subtle, we don't know who did this. So it's something hidden. Because when I think back in China, poor, we related poor to good thing. That was happened after 1949.
Cultural Revolution.
Yes, Cultural Revolution and the land reform. The poorer you are, the better. But that is a propaganda from the Communist Party. They ask you to think that way. They direct you to think that way. That's more drastic. Yeah. So you can see who did that to you. But in Western society, it's more like, you don't know who did that to you. You don't know. But it's from 17th century, it's a long time ago.
It's interesting to see how those influences popped up. Whereas in the Cultural Revolution, they was like, yeah, it's bad, but then later it's like Mao's living this like super lavish life, and he's eating all this super rich food that people don't have access to, and then afterwards it's all like, oh, now we're all about like, we're gonna enter capitalism,
Yeah,
we're just
yeah.
gonna go full-heartedly into that.
Yeah, but they will never say they are,
It's for the good of the
yes.
people.
Yes, exactly.
Long
But
live
it's
the
all-
proletariat.
Yeah, but it's all to make gains for themselves too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, getting back to your whole idea on talking about prisons and how we, the modern prison system in the United States has taken on this role of housing all of these people, but they're making profits off of it,
It's about economics
right?
too.
And it's these people that own the prisons want people in there because they make money for everybody that they have in there. And it was the same thing in the Foucault article, where they're taking advantage of these people, or they're putting them into these workhouses, and they're making them work. But then it talks about how they were cutting deals with other businesses, and how they would ship out their goods for them bringing people in and
Or how
funding
it
them.
caused some unemployment.
Yeah.
Making these workhouses
Yeah.
actually caused unemployment. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because when you think of that, in old days we have kings and queens and they collect taxes, and that's noblemen, and then later they become bourgeoisie, those street people, do business to get money, and how they get money, not through taxes but through trading. So all of a sudden, if you are rich, you associate rich, or you associate wealth with good, you're hardworking, and you associate poor with bad and lazy. So
Well, that was one of the things I found too when he was talking about how it was like the moral issue of working really hard and all that, and then learning in our philosophy course about Calvinism and all that, and the Protestant work ethic, and I'm like, oh, we don't have that religious, like many of us don't have that, but how ingrained it is that how important it is to be productive all the time, and like you sleep in and you're like, oh, I'm so
you
productive.
feel bad.
Yeah, like I need to be doing things,
Yes.
and
I'm
Yeah.
wasting my time.
we still have that.
Yeah, for example, if you, we're so rushed here, but if you go and visit, for example, like an island nation, like I went to the Philippines and everything just happens so much slower, so much
pace.
slower there. It's a
Yeah.
different pace. I mean, the traffic, that's fast paced, you're gonna die. But I mean, everything operates, like people don't really get up till about noon, and like even when I was traveling in Spain, it's very much the culture there. It's relaxed. If you found a restaurant that opened before noon, it was a miracle, and you just ate as much as you could. It's no guarantee you'll be open later on.
But we have that work ethic even when we go on holidays.
It's true.
We take a break from this crazy work life, and we
Yeah.
don't want to be lazy. We've got it's like
A list of
it's
things to do.
ingrained. It's like you go on a holiday. It's like, okay, I need to be here at
Get
this
this
time.
in.
I'm doing this at this
Yeah.
time, right? I need to make the most of my
Yeah.
time.
But
I
you
need to be
probably only have a few
productive.
days
Yeah.
or weeks. You're like, I need to see everything in
Right.
that time frame.
That's exactly what I did when I went traveling. It's all like, gotta go to this museum, gotta go there.
To-do
We're
list.
getting up by
Yeah.
9, and then we're not getting back till 9 p.m., and we're too tired to go out anymore, so we're just gonna sleep.
Yeah. But I think that
Yeah.
links back to that whole.
Mhm.
You want to be the most productive. Make use of your time.
Yeah.
You don't want to be seen as lazy.
Because
Yeah.
if
It's
you're
the same
not,
with
then you
your
have no
weekend.
value to society.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, don't you feel
Exactly.
guilty like if you like you come back to
Sleeping.
class after the weekend and it's like, what did you do over the weekend? You don't
Done
want to
no
say
work.
you don't want to say I
Oh,
didn't do any
I know.
homework or I didn't even leave the house. I mean, it's like
Mhm.
we have this need to not appear lazy
Yeah, I
continuously.
guess that's the
in
perspective
everything we do.
of, how we brought up.
It's slightly dangerous because we impart that onto our students at the same time too, and that's why you have so many young children now, or at least the ones who are really high achievers, and you can tell that that's kind of just their personality, that they're getting stressed and burnt out because they think they should be doing all these things, and you're just like, no, it's okay. Didn't want that to happen. I'm sorry that happened, but I didn't mean for you to go overboard and do all of that extra thing.
Yeah.
Things,
And I think teachers tend to frown on you if you're being lazy. If you're not doing anything that's
Right.
considered, why are you being,
Yeah.
everybody else in class
Yeah,
has
you're
done this, why
wasting
aren't you
your
doing it?
time.
Exactly.
Yes.
You're wasting
you
your
do
time.
something.
Right? We're conditioning them to.
Yeah, I
Not
know.
be
I
lazy.
had this experience in the school, and for First Nation kids, they don't look at you in the eyes because that means they disrespect you or challenge you. And when you talk to them, they just have heads down because that's a show of respect. Respect. So we don't really understand that. Why don't you make eye contact? Because you're guilty or something like that. Or if you try to teach them something like do homework, help them out, they'll just keep silent. So that kind of drive people mad.
Right.
Why are you not saying anything? Just say something and do something. I guess maybe this is part, you know, of their culture brought up. I'm not quite sure. I should look into it a little bit more, but I'm not really sure. But if we look at it from a different perspective, maybe we can understand it a little bit better.
I think we're over time.
Oh,
Alright.
we're over time.
Yes.
So we're going to stop there.
Okay.
How can you tell?